Welcome to Thursday, September 15th, 2022. Your Day Weather Podcast is being brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Cowboy State Daily has more original Wyoming news information than any other news organization in the state. Check them out at cowboystatedaily.com. As we roll through the last 2 days of the work week, it's basically more the same. Off and on showers and thunderstorms will be found across a lot of the Intermountain West and some of the western high plains, especially across Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, parts of northern and western areas of Colorado, and into the western high plains a little bit as this disorganized area of low pressure just slowly drifts overhead, keeping our temperatures comfortably cooler. And these off and on shower and thunderstorm chances with these comfortable temperatures are probably going to hold on until Saturday. I do see Saturday a decrease in the coverage of thunderstorms and showers, but they'll be fairly commonplace today and tomorrow, especially up into the mountains. Now, clearing in warmer conditions, a little bit of a gap in the weather takes place Sunday and Monday of next week. We're still looking at a colder, unsettled weather trend by the middle to the end of next week and maybe next weekend. I will tell you, as we're going to show you here later, it's a very complicated, complex pattern, not only across the West, but I think the nation as a whole has got a lot on the table next week on possibly what could happen. Thing is we've got a lot of different scenarios that could unfold when it comes to the weather in the West and also the potential for tropical storm and hurricane activity to affect parts of the United States next week, as it could get really, really interesting over the next 7 to 10 days if you're a weather watcher. Today's satellite photos showing, a large part of the West under high humidity air. And you can see that high humidity air goes all the way back from central northern California up into the Pacific Northwest, up into British Columbia, then across the Midwest. And this area of low pressure is just going to slowly drift this way over the next 72 hours. So all you need are some mountains and a little bit of daytime heating, and you're going to get some shower and thunderstorm activity to develop. And there you can see that broad area of low pressure from the Pacific coming through the western United States with high pressure in the east. This is the precipitation forecast through Sunday. So through Sunday, you can see western Wyoming, eastern Idaho here into the northern Wasatch, going to do very well with more rain. Great to see that. Also, more rain chances over some of the fire areas of the Pacific Northwest and Idaho with higher humidity air and cooler temperatures. That will certainly help. Now, you may be noticing this. I'll talk about that here shortly. Snowfall, well, it's going to be up high. There might be a little bit of snow between now and Sunday. This is not a very cold system, so if there is snow, it'll be over the higher peaks. As we go ahead, let's go into the weekend. This is where things get a little murky and get complicated. So there's a lot of moving parts, and we'll continue to update you with these moving parts, and hopefully we'll have a better idea in the days to come. But this is what will be by late Saturday afternoon and evening. 0 Zulu Sunday means 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And as we get into that time frame, high pressure continues to build in the Gulf of Alaska, carving a low along the west coast with a broad area of high pressure in the southeast. Notice we have two lows here. We've got a low here and a low here. So what we have is a splitting trough. The trough is going to split in the two pieces. We're pretty sure that's going to happen now. We weren't so sure a couple of days ago. With a splitting trough, this is what is going to set into motion a variety of different potential scenarios that could happen across the country next week. First of all, with this low splitting, this low is going to break off and sit off the California northern coast. We'll talk about that here in a minute, as that could be a good rain producer for you podcast viewers that live in central and northern California. This low right here has got a fair amount of cold air with it, as we showed you. It's going to end up tracking eastward across southern Canada and the northern U.S. by early next week. There you can see so this is by 6 p.m. Saturday. This is by 6 p.m. Sunday. See the split taking place? So we end up with a two-tiered system. A separate low here, another low up here. That's got the colder air with it that's going to be heading east, while this kind of stalls out for a little bit with a big high in the south central United States. Now, this is by Wednesday. Notice it doesn't move a lot, but the west coast storm begins to move east, and then this trough moves across Canada. Notice the winds aloft are from the north. So what this will do is it will send some of that colder air into the central and northern plains and northern and central Rockies next week, but it may not be as cold as we showed you over the last couple of days because the storm is splitting. But notice as the storm splits, it just meanders across the Pacific Northwest and the northern Rockies. Look at this. Here we go. This is a potential hurricane tropical storm forming next week there. We also have some low pressure in the Gulf of Mexico that could be forming as well. And as we go further out, by next Saturday, so this is by Saturday, September 24th, look at the potential rainfall. Now, this doesn't include what's going to happen between now and Sunday. This is what's forecasted to fall next week. Again, take it with a grain of salt. But notice, look at central and northern California here. Look at that. Boy, that would be great news there. If they could get that, this would be great news here as well, up and across parts of Montana. Then look at Utah, Colorado, Arizona, parts of Wyoming, and western Nebraska. If that low splits and slowly drifts on through, this will be a mostly rain event with noticeably cooler temperatures, but probably not cold enough for low elevation snow if the storm splits, but it is a cool, wet pattern nonetheless. Now we're going to show you the differences in the models and the different scenarios that could unfold. The European model by next Saturday, the 24th, still has the low over Montana and up near Yellowstone Park. While we've got a hurricane or tropical storm that is likely going to be drawn into this low here if the European is right and stay out to sea. That's one scenario. The Canadian model is a little bit less strong with the storm here. It's got really more of a frontal system, but notice this. We got a potential New Orleans hurricane or tropical storm by next weekend. Another potential hurricane or tropical storm out here. That's the Canadian. The GFS or the American model has a very strong hurricane here. This trough will have moved away in time for this to go this way. It doesn't have really anything in the Gulf of Mexico. So what we have next week is a variety of different scenarios, but we could find ourselves to the latter parts of next week looking at cool, wet weather in the west, tropical storm and hurricane activity in the east or southeast. So stay tuned. It could get interesting. Have yourself a great Thursday. See you tomorrow.